fake news and police helicopter cover-ups for October 4th. So on the night of October 3rd, and I think possibly on October 2nd and October 3rd, I went back into some of my older videos from May, June, and July, and a lot of them were set on private, so I switched them to public, and I think that some of the good people only became aware of certain videos at that point in time, because when I eventually make the overall overview of all of this, it'll make more sense. But there are some spots that they hadn't been hitting to cover up, like circles at the two-story house, because people hadn't audited the fact that there are many events there at the two-story house. Not that it really matters, because all they had to do was just fly over it in a straight line and say it's part of their routine, and then he's allowed to drop his sandwich or take a call or fly slowly, which is the equivalent of doing a half hour of power circles over the two-story house. So it doesn't really matter, I guess, but that's why this day was crazy. And the reason why I said that intro is because he was basically psychotic with a vengeance, and it switched back from being a cover-up mode to aggressive and attacking me. And the difference is that he comes in psychotic and he's like full on, like looking at me, killing me with his eyes like James Crystal, like, but it's nuts. He's experiencing it all on his own, just like Captain Sully was on the roofs across the street. That's his own thing, and his is even worse probably because it's a repetitive event. So anyways, so at 8:20 a.m., the police helicopter flew right to left in the Copter pocket if you're looking across the street from me at a higher altitude, and he approached 24191, and then he made a right turn, and he went out towards the Geronimo Montilla intersection. So I'm making this on October 31st, so it's possible that I wasn't paying enough attention, that he might have actually gained a little bit of altitude to try to sell the hill that it doesn't really exist behind 24191 to cover up for the military helicopter that turned out of my frame. And then at 2:02, and this is the beginning of the psychotic event, so he was coming right to left in the Copter pocket, and then he turned left over 24191, and he did a tail wave, and then I thought he was doing, what he was doing is, instead of going back to front doing the tail wave over my house, he went front to back. So if you do it in the opposite direction, then it's covered up. And then he did a U-turn on my roof, and then he came back over my head, and he was doing circles over my head, and I thought like he was audited and then just lost it. So I thought they were just going to shoot me right then, because he was only like 50 or 60 feet off the ground, and it was like how it always used to be. And people are looking at videos, there are more events, maybe times 10 or even more than that aren't recorded. And so at 2:05, he was still doing circles over my head, and then he was moving back and forth from the two-story house over my head, and that's to cover up, because once you hit one of those spots, like the problematic part that people became aware of at the two-story house that I labeled last fake Amber Alert, once you just go over it once again in a larger circle, then it's all covered up. So instead of just doing a couple things, they try to get everything in, because that's smart, just like doing the Saul attack and also getting gun control and my brother. And so he and then they didn't post anything for that either, so that was supposedly routine surveillance. That should be so audited. People should retro and look at this. It's the most crazy event ever, and it was not posted for anything. It was said that it was routine surveillance. So at 2:09 p.m. he's still here doing this stuff, and then he crosses back over the street and then out over 24091 and waves, and then he crosses over 3 houses down. So he did like a big loop back over 24191, and then he crossed over 3 houses down, which is somewhere around the that part. I would have to make a new video to confirm how he exited, but I said 3 houses down, so it might be the October 16th event, or it might have been in the other direction. I'm not sure. So he went out over El Dorado Park. So what it was the October 16th exit. So some of these things are conveniently lucky. So because once you cross over a spot once, then you're free to say that you can do power circles anywhere as long as you fly over it once. And so he got stuck on the roof on October 16th trying to spotlight me, and he's an idiot, and that's why he got stuck there, because he was in full psychotic mode. He doesn't even think. And so he got stuck on that house, and then they're like, oh well, look, we have past events where he was doing circles there, therefore it's a regularity. And people, if they just looked at the overall and just drew like a circle for each spot he's done stuff, it's nonsense. And so at 2:10 he went out over El Dorado Park. Sounds like he's coming right now. And then he